morning all of you. This is 12th class biology chapter 15 biodiversity and conservation, and this is lecture number 2 of this chapter. Topics that we will cover today are patterns of biodiversity, in which you will study about latitudinal gradients and species area relationship, and after that we will study about importance of species diversity for ecosystem. So let's start today's lecture with patterns of biodiversity. So biodiversity is not same everywhere, means on every part of earth number of species are not same. On some places more number of animal and plant species are found, means those areas are biodiversity rich areas, but in some areas only a few species of plants or animals are found, right? So biodiversity is not same everywhere, we can say. Now here in patterns of biodiversity we will study about the latitudinal gradient of biodiversity, that how the different places have different number of species, or you can say there is variation in biodiversity on different places due to their position with respect to the equator of earth, right? So that is called latitudinal gradient, means a variation in biodiversity in different places due to their position with respect to equator. So species diversity decreases from the equator to the poles, means on the equator species diversity is more, means areas near the equator are rich in biodiversity. Okay, so this is equator of earth, you can see here this is equator, and the areas or the places which are near the equator of earth have more species number, or those are biodiversity rich areas. And when we move from the equator towards the poles, these are poles, north pole and south pole. So towards the pole biodiversity is less number of species are found here, and the areas which are present near the poles, less number of species are found. Now tropics which are present near the equator, latitudinal range of 23.5 degree north to 23.5 degrees south have more species than temperate or polar areas. Temperate or polar areas which are you can say which are present towards the poles. Okay, so they have less number of these areas have less number of species, while tropics having this latitudinal range have more species number. Now these are some examples of latitudinal gradient. Number of bird species in Colombia, which is present near equator, 1400 species of birds are present here. Okay, because it is present near equator, and more species are found near equator areas. In India in tropic areas of India especially, more than 1200 species of birds are found. In New York, which is 41 degree north, okay, which is away from equator, you can say, only 105 species are found. So you can see this latitudinal gradient here, right, that how the number of species are you can say there is an effect on the number of species due to position of any area with respect to the equator. Okay, so in New York only 105 species of birds are present, and in Greenland, which is more towards the pole, that is 71 degree north, only 56 species of birds are present, right? So as we move from equator to poles, number of bird species are decreasing, you can say. Okay, this is showing latitudinal gradient. So this is an example for latitudinal gradient. You need to learn the number of birds in all these areas for an example of latitudinal gradient, right? Next is next example of latitudinal gradient is tropical forest region like Ecuador has up to 10 times of vascular plant species as compared to a temperate forest region like Midwest of USA. So Midwest of USA, that is a temperate region, okay, and a forest in the Midwest of USA has less number of vascular plant species, while the tropical forest which is found near the equator, okay, and like forest name is given here, that is Ecuador. So 10 times more vascular plants are present here. 10 times more vascular plant species are present here than that of present in Midwest of USA. Tropical Amazonian rainforest in South America has the greatest biodiversity on earth. This is very biodiversity rich area. Here number of species of different plants and animals present in Amazon rainforests are given. Amazon rainforest are very biodiversity rich areas, okay, and all these number of species are given here, like 40,000 species of, more than 40,000 species of plants are present in these forests. 30,000 species of fishes are present here. 1,300 bird species are present in Amazon rainforest, and 427 mammal species are present. 427 amphibian species are present here. 378 reptiles are present here in Amazon rainforest, and more than 1,25,000 invertebrate species are found in Amazon rainforest. So we can say Amazon rainforest is very rich in biodiversity. Okay, many different species are found here. As we are saying, the tropics have more biodiversity. Those are biodiversity rich area, or you can say more species richness. Okay, so what is the reasons for species richness in the tropics? So first reason is tropics had more evolutionary time. Speciation is generally a function of time. Means speciation means formation of new species. Okay, and formation of new species occur with time, right? Now in temperate region, if we talk about the temperate regions, those regions were subjected to frequent glaciations in the past, right? And due to those frequent glaciations, those regions did not get any time for the speciation, for the formation of new species, right? But tropical areas have remained relatively undisturbed for millions of years, and thus had a long time for the speciation. So this is the first reason for the species richness of tropical areas. Second reason is relatively constant environment, that is less seasonal. So tropical environment, unlike temperate ones, are less seasonal and more constant. And due to more constant environment, any species get a proper time for its niche specialization. You know about niche, that a particular place of any organism in its habitat, okay, in its environment. So any species get a proper time for the niche specialization when the environment is constant, and more species will be developed. Okay, so species diversity will be more if the environment will be constant, and if the seasonal fluctuation will be less, right? So this is second reason. Third very important reason is tropical areas receive more solar energy, which contributes to greater productivity. So if the solar energy is more, then obviously the productivity will be more. Productivity depends on the plants, okay, and if solar energy is more plants can grow, right? There will be different species of plants there, and the all the productivity comes from the plant, for the animals also. So if the more plant species are there, animal species will also be more in that area. So this is the third reason for the species richness of tropics. After latitudinal gradient, next pattern of biodiversity is species area relationship, and it was given by Alexander von Humboldt. So according to the study of Alexander von Humboldt, he did his study in South American jungles about the species area relationship, and in South American jungles he found that within a region species richness increases with increasing explored area. means he started exploring a small area in those jungles, okay, and he found a few number of species there. When he increased the explored area, then he found more number of species, means species richness increased with increased area, with increased explored area, right? But only up to a limit, means after that limit, if we increase the explored area, there will be no increase in species richness, and this species area relationship is applicable everywhere. Okay, so this is the species area relationship given by Humboldt, Alexander von Humboldt. This graph is showing species area relationship, and this curve is also called Humboldt curve for species area relationship because it was given by Alexander von Humboldt. Okay, now you see this graph. On one side species richness is shown, okay, and on another axis this is area. So area is increasing this side and species richness is increasing like this. Okay, now relation between species richness and area gives a rectangular hyperbola. As you can see here, this rectangular hyperbola. What happened in the starting with the increased explored area, like in this direction, if the area explored area is increasing, okay, then species richness is also increasing like this. Okay, with the explored area species richness is increasing, but up to a limit, and this is the limit. After this limit, if we are increasing the explored area, there is no increase in species richness. That's why we are getting this hyperbola. Okay, because only up to a limit species richness increases with explored area. After that limit, there is no increase in species richness with explored area. So this is hyperbola we get for species area relationship, and it is represented by S is equal to CAZ, right? S is representing species richness, A is for area, C is for y-intercept, means the y-intercept where the line or the curve will cross the y-axis, okay, and Z is representing slope of the line, like this area, okay, this is slope of line is represented by Z, and the slope of line is also called regression coefficient. Now on a logarithmic scale, the relationship is a straight line, like this relationship is represented by a straight line on logarithmic scale, okay, and the equation will become, now if you will apply the logarithm on this equation, it will become log S is equal to log C plus Z log A, right? So this will be the logarithmic equation for species area relationship curve. Now we are talking about slope of line, that is regression of coefficient, and which is represented by Z. Okay, so generally for small areas the Z value is 0.1 to 0.2. Okay, so this value is fixed for small areas, it is 0.1 to 0.2. But for large areas, if you are taking into account, if you are exploring entire continent, you can say, okay, so that will be a very large area, right? So for that large area, slope of line, or you can say regression coefficient, will increase. Okay, that slope of line will become more steeper, here we will represent the slope of line, so slope of line will become more steeper and Z value will increase there. This Z value will become 0.6 to 1.2. For small areas this is the Z value, and for large areas Z value is this. So you need to learn these Z values. Now for example, for frugivorous birds and mammals in the tropical forest of different continents, the Z value is 1.15. So this is also a difference in Z value from these values. Okay. Now next topic is importance of species diversity, that how the species diversity is important for us or for the ecosystem. So according to David Tillman, plots with more species shows less year to year variation in total biomass. Plots with more species, you can say areas with more species, okay, areas which have more biodiversity or the species richness is there in those areas. So those areas shows less year to year variation in total biomass, means in their total productivity. In those areas there is less variation. Okay, and what is the reason behind that less variation? More number of species and more stable ecosystem, more stable environment, right? So that leads to less variation in total biomass or total productivity of that area. Increased diversity contributes to higher productivity. If more number of species are present in any area, productivity increases. It is essential for ecosystem health and survival of human race. Okay, if productivity is higher, then we can say ecosystem is more healthy. Okay, and healthy ecosystem is essential for the survival of human race. If ecosystem is not stable, no organism can survive there, right? And if no organism can survive, means human can also not survive there. So we can say for the survival of human race we need a stable ecosystem, and for a stable ecosystem we need higher productivity, and for higher productivity we need more biodiversity. So biodiversity is very important. Now we can understand the importance of biodiversity by Rivett-Popper hypothesis. Rivett-Popper hypothesis is an analogy used to understand the importance of biodiversity, and it is proposed by Stanford ecologist named Paul Ehrlich. So Paul Ehrlich proposed the Rivett-Popper hypothesis. What is Rivett-Popper hypothesis? Like in an aeroplane is representing an ecosystem here. Okay, this is the hypothesis given by Paul Ehrlich. He said that if we compare our ecosystem with an aeroplane, all parts are joined together using many rivets, or you can say species. Like in an aeroplane, all parts are joined with the help of rivets. Likewise, in an ecosystem, many different species are present. So he compared rivets of aeroplane with the species of ecosystem, right? Rivets are present in an aeroplane. Likewise, species are present in an ecosystem. Okay. Now, if passengers, proper rivet means extinction of a species. Like if the passenger are popping a rivet from the aeroplane, or we can say popping of a rivet is similar to the extinction of a species from the ecosystem. Okay, so in starting it may not affect flight safety. So it rivet popping may not affect the flight safety in starting stage. Likewise, species extinction may not affect the functioning of ecosystem. But as more and more rivets are removed, means more and more species extinction will occur. The plane becomes dangerously weak, right? Likewise, if more and more species got extinct from an ecosystem will become dangerously weak. It will become unstable, right? Loss of rivets on the wings, which are called key species. Okay, like we are talking about the rivets of the aeroplane, but some of the rivets are more important than other rivets in aeroplane. Like if we talk about the rivets on the wings of aeroplane, those wings are more important, those rivets are more important than other rivets, because the rivets on the wings, if those were removed, there will be more effect on the safety of aeroplane, right? That's why we are saying that those rivets present on wings are like key species. Key species means some of the species in ecosystem are more important than other species. Okay, like rivets on wings are more important than other rivets. some species present in ecosystem are more important than other species. That's why loss of those species will have a major effect on ecosystem functioning. Like extinction of those species will be more dangerous for the ecosystem, right? So we can say the rivets from the wings of aeroplane will be more dangerous. It will affect the flight safety more than the loss of other rivets, right? Likewise, loss of some of the species will affect the ecosystem stability more than the loss of some other species. So this is called Rivet-Popper hypothesis given by Paul Ehrlich. Based on today's topics, your homework is NCERT question number 3, 4, 6 and 9. Now let's discuss the homework solution of previous lecture, and this is question number 1 of NCERT. Name 3 important components of biodiversity. So variety of living forms found in different ecosystems is referred to as biodiversity, right? Which includes variability in life forms from all possible sources such as air, water and land. These are 3 significant components of biodiversity: species diversity, genetic diversity and ecosystem diversity. This is question number 2 of NCERT, that how do ecologists estimate the total number of species present in the world? So the answer is living entities or living organisms, you can say, exhibit a vast diversity on Earth. Researchers estimate it to be close to 7 millions. Like, Robert May estimate is of 7 millions. Ecologists can estimate the total number of species on Earth through a statistical comparison between a species richness of a well-studied group of insects of tropical, as you know, in tropical areas more species are found. Species number is more in tropical areas. Okay, so what is done here? A comparison is done between species richness of a studied group of insect of tropical area and temperate area. Okay, later these ratios are extrapolated with groups of other plants and animals to estimate the net species richness found on Earth.